Sorry about that, everybody. My name is Stephen Rivas. I'm the product manager at WIN-911. Today we're going to be talking about WIN-911 2021, which is something we've been working on for the past year and a half. We released it last month, and so far we're really happy with the response that we've received with it. The main thing you'll notice here that's a big change from previous versions is that the name is different. We've decided to change the name to 2021. Maybe you guys know it as version 4. In the past, we're still keeping the same license tiers, which will be standard and interactive, and advanced as well, but advanced won't be available until Q4. There's a reason that we changed it, other than just changing it. It's because that by just having a product called WIN-911, we had this version 4 product and we had version 7, which is the legacy product. Created some confusion when people would call in, they'd want to make an order, they'd need to talk to product support. We'd spend some amount of time just trying to figure out which product they were talking about. So we knew we needed to make a change. So that's why we've decided to call it WIN-911 2021. And I mean, I'm pretty happy about that. We'll have our subsequent releases will be called we'll follow the R2, R3 nomenclature. So this next release that we're working on, which is the follow-up to this one, will be called WIN-911 2021 R2. So just wanted to get the naming out of the way at the front. What we're going to do in this presentation is I'll walk you through the major changes that in the product, and then we'll show you a quick demo of what it looks like and what it looks like to configure an InTouch application with WIN-911. So while I'm covering the changes, if you have any questions, put them in the questions box, and we'll get to that at the end. And if there are any issues, please write it in the chat, and Arish can reach out to me if we need to. All right, so the first thing we'll talk about is the architecture changes that we've made. And really the first thing that we're going to be doing, or the first thing that we did, is that we moved away from our browser-based Silverlight UI and moved to a desktop application that we're still calling WIN-911 Workspace. Way back before we started the project, we had polled a lot of our customers and asked whether it mattered to them whether we're sticking to a browser-based UI or if they didn't have a preference really. Desktop application happened to be the quickest solution for us, so that is what we went with, because just about everybody did not have a preference. So you'll still be able to run Workspace on remote machines. We'll have a separate installer available in this upcoming release so that you'll be able to install it and run it from anywhere within your network, so it's still networkable. We also removed the IIS component from WIN-911, which we were using it to host app servers and for our WIN-911 modules, and we decided it was unnecessary to do this, and it was the reason we did that is because it was a source of a lot of our problems, support issues, and by getting rid of it, we were able to reduce or decrease our installation times, and decrease our installation times and our deployment issues. It also decreases our resource usage on the machine almost, but in some cases more than half, and that is been a welcome change. So if you had used WIN-911 in the past and saw that it was using up a lot of system resources, that issue has gone away with this with this release, because it's available now. Next, we're going to take a look at the navigation menu here. So sorry, I scrolled through too quickly. So we moved from, let me go back to the old one. We moved from this over-the-top style navigation to a side navigation. This over-the-top cookie crumb style menu is pretty hard to navigate. Many users would click on one item and then they try to navigate to one section and they end up clicking to another section. So that's why we made this move to the side navigation. With this, these problems go away, and it becomes a lot quicker to navigate through the application. And I know that talking about a navigation menu is kind of weird as a highlight, but I'll tell you that after using the product for so long, it is a welcome change and just makes moving through the configuration a breeze. So I'm very happy about this change. You can also move it to the side if you like to, just like any traditional side menu. If you need more space to work on your configuration. So the way I'm going to chunk this up is that there are 3 pieces of a configuration. The first is creating contacts. You want to send the alarm notifications to, and once you've made your contacts, you can start setting up your alarm escalation. And in WIN-911 in 2021, this is done with what we call notification policies, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. And then after you have those set up, we'll bring the alarms in to WIN-911, and we'll use InTouch for that. So I'll cover each one of these sections and the changes that we made, and then we'll do show you guys a quick demo of what WIN-911 looks like. So the first is the contacts directory. When we were redesigning a workspace, one of our goals was to consolidate as much as we could, and the most extensive consolidation effort resulted in what we're calling the contacts directory. The contacts directory is where you configure the operators that are going to receive your alarm notifications. When you'd create contacts in previous versions and you had multiple notification types, it could be a bit of a hassle. You had to navigate to a lot of different screens, which was compounded by that over-the-top navigation menu. So we made the decision to move back to more of a WIN-911 version 7 style, or version 7 phone book style configuration. So the changes that we've made here make it so much quicker to create and edit your contacts. You can just jump in, add a new contact, and then add all the different connection types that you need to. So I'm pretty happy about that. And move this over. I don't know if this is messing up the view here, so I'll make sure I move it. Next up is the format editor. We built an all new format editor for email, SMS, and voice notifications. In version 4, if you needed to create a custom format for notifications, you had to edit what's called XSL, which is it's a markup language, so it's very similar to XML. And we know that that's incredibly flexible, that format editor, but is really complicated for most users. And we knew we needed something different. So with this editor, you can type in static text and insert dynamic alarm property placeholders. And these placeholders will match the terminology used in your SCADA system. Meaning if you're connecting to InTouch, then we're going to display InTouch terminology. So we'll put like group and priority. You'll see here. So we're going to build out a message in a minute. And so basically we're matching the same labels that you see with alarms within InTouch. We'll also be keeping the XSL formats for those of you who have used them in the past, so you're not going to lose those formats that you'd created. And you can also, of course, still continue to create XSL formats, but you basically have the choice between using the simple editor or the previous XSL editor. The scheduling utility is next, and with schedules, you create these schedules for your contacts, and once you create them, you assign these schedules to your contacts. If a contact is in a call out list and an alarm occurs, then WIN-911 will check to see if that contact's on schedule. And if so, a notification will be sent. And if not, then they will be skipped over. So it's a pretty simple concept. You're free to create and share the same schedule with multiple contacts or create individual schedules for each person receiving notifications. Our schedule tool is pretty similar to other calendars you may have used in the past, for example, Outlook or Google Calendar. We've added a new feature which allows you to import and export schedules using ICS files. This allows you to export a schedule from Outlook and import it into WIN-911 or vice versa. You could use it to back up schedules if you so choose. This does not create a sync with something going on in Outlook. It's a one-time import. So if you import an ICS file and you wanted to make changes to it from Outlook, you'd have to export and import again. So it's not synced together. It's just a way to move your one schedule from one system to another. Next is notification policies. And over the last couple of years, we've repeatedly heard that tactics and strategies were too complicated. And I agree. When we would introduce tactics to a user, we'd have to tell them that a tactic is a call out list. So We knew it wasn't a good sign when the name that we had given something wasn't immediately apparent what it does. So we've removed the tactics and strategies from WIN-911 and replaced them with a single object that we call a notification policy. So you're now able to build your contact list and configure escalation logic in a single place. Instead of configuring those strategy policies, you only need to select the alarm states that you're interested in sending alarms for. And then you also need to choose a notification option for when an alarm state changes. So we'll show you that in a demo here in a minute, so you can see how easy it is to create a notification policy as compared to the way it was before. Now, I kind of mentioned it in the front, but we're only including basic escalation for this first release, meaning that we haven't migrated the equivalent of an advanced tactic, which we're calling workflows. Instead, we're just focusing on bringing over the concept of basic tactics and giving the user the ability to match version 7 escalation as closely as possible. The advanced stuff will come in the next release, and that is, again, due out at the end of Q3, beginning of Q4. We made a few changes to our data source modules. Mainly is that we've consolidated all the tabs to a single workspace, which makes it easier to navigate. And we've also improved our alarm subscription to control and how we display tags in a grid. So users have also been asking for an OPC Heartbeat to be added for a while. So we've finally added that back in, as well as changed up the import process for OPC. Just a note that we're not going to, I know this is a presentation for InTouch, but we're not going to be supporting AVEVA Edge with this first release. That is something else we'll add in our next release, which is coming in Q3. So this is the subscription control. This is what it looks like. Basically what this allows you to do for InTouch or system platform is instead of importing tags, you can set up these subscriptions to bring your alarms in. So in the case of some data sources, this is the only way to monitor alarms and system platforms. An example. So I keep talking about system platform and InTouch. They're kind of very similar to we handle alarms very similarly to each other between InTouch and system platform. You can create multiple subscriptions per data source and assign each one to a different notification policy. And those notification policies, you can create as many of those as you want. Alarms are going to be filtered in by certain criteria, which is going to vary from data source to data source, but typically involves filtering by name of some kind, grouping, and priority. And that is what we filter InTouch alarms on. My preferred way to create a subscription is to use shared properties like a group or area. When you do it this way, if you want to add or remove an alarm from WIN-911, you only need to change the alarms group or area association, and it will automatically be included or excluded from callouts in WIN-911. So those changes are handled dynamically. The benefit of using a subscription is, like I said, they're dynamic. If you were to add a new alarm to your SCADA system, WIN-911 would automatically receive that alarm if it matched your previously set up subscriptions. Now, if you don't want to use subscriptions, you can still import tags with InTouch, and I'll show you that in a little bit. For Heartbeat, I mean, it's a basic Heartbeat. When you enable it, we'll ramp the value of the tag that you assign from 1 to 9 and then repeat indefinitely. You may have noticed that version 7 would ramp all the way to 32,767, but this is only going to 9. And the reason that we've done that is it's much easier to test internally. And I'm going to guess for you guys that instead of waiting for a value to get all the way up to 32,767, so that would be 32,767 minutes for it to loop, you can only have to wait 9 minutes to make sure it's going to loop and everything's going to work as expected. So that's the Heartbeat. We've also, yeah.
In the Heartbeat, you were showing OPC DA, but that also applies to InTouch, correct? And system platform.
Yeah, that's correct. We've had the Heartbeat in InTouch and system platform previously. We didn't change that. It's the same as it was before. So that
Excellent.
The Heartbeat exists in InTouch, system platform, and OPC.
Thanks.
So we've also updated an app that we created for version 4 called the Contacts Utility. We renamed it to the Operator Workspace and made a few changes to it. You can use this utility when you need to provide a quick and easy way for your operators to make changes to their call-out list or the schedule without opening the full WIN-911 workspace. You can run this utility from any system in your network as long as, of course, it has network access to WIN-911. So if you just need to change, like I said, if you need to change a call-out order, just open this application real quick, make the change, save it, close it, and you can make these changes in a few seconds instead of going through the full workspace, which I know can be confusing to some operators that are not familiar with it. So now we'll just go into a demo, and what we'll do is I'll walk through those steps. I'll create a contact, create some quick escalation, and then show you how you can import some tags into InTouch. So let me jump over here. Arish, can you see my virtual machine here?
Yeah, and while you do that, I'll go ahead and launch a quick poll here. So what SCADA do you currently use? Please select all that applies, system platform, InTouch, Edge, and other. Thank you very much. Everybody seems to be working on. We're about 35%. About 40% voted. Thank you. We're about 60%. %71%. It's a couple of people here left to vote. We'll close it up in about 10 seconds. Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and continue. Excellent, Rivas. We're able to see your AVEVA application map.
Okay. All right, it's back up. Great. So for this, we're just going to use the demo application that's included with InTouch. We'll use this demo reactor one. I know that the icons have changed. I haven't got familiarized myself with them yet. I think this one's window viewer. All right, cool. So just get that running. All right. So in the background here, we've got a WIN-911 workspace. So this is a new configuration workspace here. So you can see we've got contacts, notification policies, and the basic menu here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the directory. So obviously there's nobody in here. So what we'll do is create a new contact, and I'll put myself in. And over here, you can see we have these warnings about these gateways. A gateway is how your notifications make it to the outside world. So if it was email, it's your email server that you're going to send your mail through. So these are just warning you that none of that's set up. So even if you create these connections, they're not going to work until you create those gateways. So we'll click add a new connection. We'll do email. And I just need to type in my email here. So we'll just type You have your standard options on this top bar, whether you can acknowledge or not. We'll choose act on any reply and whatever schedule that you want to have associated with this contact. And then over here, you have the particular format you want to use. So alarm format body, you can hit these drop downs, choose the particular format. So if I don't like any of these formats, then what I can do is I can jump over to the format screen or format workspace and create a new one. So if I come down here, I'm making an email connection, so I'll create an email format, and then it comes into this workspace here. So we will just call it demo format. And down here is where I start typing my format. Now I can just type in plain text, and you can see the preview gets generated down there. So if I want to do something like a real simple, we'll start with time. We'll do time. And then we come over here to this add element button. And when we click it, we're going to see all the elements that we can add to the format. So we want to do time. And so we'll go to WIN-911 initial event time. And now you can see my previews building out. Now this information that's being included in the preview is just, I call it dummy information. It's not real alarm information. It's some stuff that's hard coded in the application. So if I want to do another one, I'll type another label and we'll do name for the alarm name, and we'll come find it in our list. Here's name, we'll stick it in there. If you want to do a description, do description. Find that in InTouch, a description is called an alarm comment. So we will stick that in there. And then if we want to know the alarm state, we can put that in there as state. Come find it over here. That I believe is just called alarm state. Here we go. So we're going to do active state and whether it's acknowledged. So it's going to say active or inactive and whatever the acknowledgement state would be. So we'll do act state. And if it's act, it'll tell us who it is act by. So we'll type act by, find that in my list, and click that on there. Now, you'll notice there's some of these down here that are not from InTouch. If you click on this Learn More button up here, it will explain to you what these things are. So if you're not sure what they are, you can come read through here, and it will tell you what's going to get displayed. All right, once I'm happy with my format, then I can just click Save Changes, jump back over to my directory where I'm creating that contact, come to my alarm format, choose that demo format I just made, and then I can set that. Now, if I'm not happy with the schedule, these are the built-in schedules that are included with WIN-911, then I can come over to schedules and create a new schedule. So remember, the schedules determines when somebody's going to get a notification. So for this, let's say I just want to create a schedule between 8 and 5 every day. So the subject, you can put anything you want here. It's just what will show up in the calendar. You have to choose your start time and your end time. So we'll do 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Close that. And then I want it to repeat on weekdays. So what I would do then is click Edit Recurrence and choose the days I want it to repeat. Then choose your recurrence settings. This is how long it's going to repeat. So I'm going to say no end date. Say OK. And from the date I created it, which is the 22nd, it will just continue on into the future. Now, if you were to go to, in the future, you were to go to, let's say, a holiday. Let's go back one more, like Christmas. Let's say you don't want somebody to get notifications on Christmas. I think this is December. Then you'd come in here. Well, Christmas is a bad example for this year because it's on a Saturday. It's kind of a bummer. Then let's say you're not going to work on Christmas Eve. Then you click the X on that, delete that occurrence, and then they won't receive a call on that day. So you could go through and do that for all holidays if you wanted to. So we'll call this Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Save it. Come back to our directory. Now that's going to be available here. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Select it and then save that contact. Now, if I wanted to add another connection to my phone book entry here or directory entry, then I just come add new connection, and I can add something else like a voice connection and just type in your phone number, choose similar options, and hit save. And so now you're just adding multiple connections into this one contact. So we'll add one more contact for Arish, so we at least have a few connections to put in a notification policy. Say allow. We'll give them the same schedule, give them the same format, and click save. So now we've got a few connections in here. So this is how you create your contacts. It is much quicker to create contacts in this version than it was in version 4. It's so much easier to navigate and add people to it. So we'll jump over to notification policies. So when we create, we have these built-in notification policies. We'll go ahead and create a new one. And remember, the notification policy, again, is basically a call out list, who would get called for an alarm, in what order, and a few escalation options. So we're going to call this InTouch you can call it whatever you want, notification policy. And you have an option to notify everybody or your selected contacts in a list down here, which we haven't added in yet, or all the contacts in your system. So if you wanted to do that, you could. Then we have a delay before call out list. So a delay before call out list is how long you want to wait before, when an alarm becomes active, how long do you want to wait before you actually start calling people? And you may want to use this feature if you have someone in the control room watching alarms and you want to give them some amount of time before to respond to the alarm before it starts calling people, or maybe you use it for a nuisance alarm. So if you have an alarm that goes in and out of alarm quickly, you want to make sure that it has to stay an alarm for at least a minute before it starts notifying. You can use it for that. I'm not going to set one because if we trigger an alarm, I don't think you guys want to sit here and wait through a delay for a call out list. So we'll jump down to the actual call out list. We'll click add connection. We'll just add all of them that I made. So you'd see all the names that you had made previously. You can sort, if you had a big list, you can sort through this and you can search through it. We only have 3 in here, so it doesn't make too much sense, but that is what that is for. We add them to the list and then you can start moving people around. So if I wanted to go, if you want myself to get notified first, you can drag me to the top, or you can use these buttons. And then we have these options for retry. So a retry is going to occur if the notification fails. So if you try to send an email notification and you can't, that's when these will get triggered, assuming you set one. So if you set, say we set each one to 1, and we'll put a little tooltip description. So if you're not sure what it is, it'll tell you what it is. Now, if you want to put a delay between a retry, you can do that too. So for example, if you can't send an email, there's a good chance the server is unavailable or your internet connection is down. So it probably isn't going to succeed if you just immediately retry. So if you want to put in a delay of some kind, you can do that. And then more commonly used is delay after notification. So this, if I send an email to myself and I want to give myself some time to respond to it before I go to the next person, then I can put that here. So it'd send an email to me, wait 10 minutes, then it will go to Arish. And if we wanted to wait 10 minutes for the next one, we could do that. So in version 7, you could do this, but the configuration was all over the place. It was kind of hard to figure out what your escalation was going to do. This makes it much easier to see that. So that's a delay after setting. And then down here, we've got a loop option. So how many times do you want to repeat the notification to the call out list? So if you want to repeat this once you get to the end, you can choose repeat until policy stops. That means it's just going to continuously repeat this list over and over and over and over again. If you want to do that, you likely want to put a delay between repeating. So that's what this feature is for. If you just want to repeat it once or twice, you have that option too. That goes up to 5, but after you get to 5, then we assume you probably just want to keep repeating it. So that's what that option is for. All right, so that is the call out list part. Next is you choose what alarm states you want to send notifications for. And these are just simple boxes. So if you only want to send the initial alarm state, then you can just uncheck these boxes and that's the only thing you're going to send. If you want to send everything all the way up to what is considered the terminal state, which is inactive and acknowledged, which means the alarm is cleared, then you just check those boxes. Once it gets to this state, you just won't send a notification. So this is typically what version 7 did. If you're familiar with it, and for example, emails, phone calls would follow this, but then there were changes for SMS and mobile. Those would send for all alarm states, but again, a lot of times people don't need that last alarm state. They don't care about it. I guess we'll leave it checked like that. And the next thing you need to choose is what WIN-911 is going to do if the alarm state were to change. So if I had already notified myself and the alarm state now goes inactive, how do you want to handle the re-notification? So you have 3 options here. 1, you can immediately queue up a notification to update them and say, hey, the alarm state changed. 2, you could just go back to the start of the call out list. Wherever you are in the call out list, you'll stop and go back to the top and then start progressing back down the list. Now that is how version 7 handled it. So some people may like that option. I think the update previously notified connections is better because it will continue to go down the list, and it's updated the previously notified people at the same time. So you're just getting out the most notifications as quickly as possible. Then of course there's just do nothing. If you don't want to notify anybody when the alarm state changes, then you choose this option and no notification will be sent out. So if you do that, regardless of what checkboxes you have here, typically you're only going to receive this notification, because if it changes from this state to this state, you told it to do nothing, so it's not going to notify you. Then we have an option for automatically, well, let me change that back to the setting I want. You have the option to automatically acknowledge an alarm when it becomes inactive or returns to normal, so that if an alarm goes inactive, you can have WIN-911 just act it right away. It's not that helpful for InTouch. One, you can configure that within InTouch already, but it's more helpful for OPC, since in that case we're handling the acknowledgement bit. And then the next section is for voice notification override. Basically what this is for is, with voice notification, you really only want to send one notification when you get the alarm. When you acknowledge it, it can queue up another message and it would call you back just to say that your acknowledgement has been accepted. If you don't want those messages, then you check these boxes and they won't send them out. So that's really all it's for. We default them on. I would assume that most everybody wouldn't want to turn those off. So that's why they're defaulted. So that is a notification policy. Once we are done with that, we'll save it and jump to InTouch. So when we come in here, we can add a new application. We'll call it InTouch. You can call it whatever you want for the name. It really is user defined. Then you need to tell us where the InTouch application is located. In this case, it's on the same machine. And I won't go into the Suite Link piece because it's not really relevant for the demo. But this is, all you really need to do is point it to where InTouch is running. So InTouch is running here. So now you have two options for bringing alarms in. You can use the subscription that I talked about earlier, and a subscription can be done by group, which is the way I think is the easiest way to do it. So if I know that this application has a group called Reactor, so I'd call it Reactor subscription. And then I click Add Filter, go down to my group. So I'm going to filter on group. I'm going to do contains. I think it's easier, and I'll type Reactor. And I probably should have gone into Window Maker so I could have shown that to y'all. I don't think I have to run that as a. Yeah, I do have to run it as. So I just wanted to show you what this relates to here. So if we go to our tag names, we'll choose an alarm that belongs to the Reactor group. So you see the group is Reactor. Because I'm filtering on a group called Reactor, any alarm that belongs to this group is going to be caught by this subscription in real time. So I don't have to actually import the tag. So if I were to add another tag and put it on the Reactor group, it's automatically going to come into WIN-911. If I delete one, it automatically goes away. So that's what makes the subscription so great. So if you wanted to be more specific, you could say it needs to belong to this group and the priority has to be high, which would be a 1. Or you could do a range. Maybe you wanted to do 1 to 250 or something. I like to just type it in there, but if you want to do something like that, you can. So that's how the subscriptions work. Now, I realize that a lot of you guys coming from version 7 have already a huge list of the tags that you are monitoring. So if you want to keep doing it that way, you can do it that way as well. So let me show you that. So if we're going to do that, I'll delete the subscription. And I'll come down to the tag section at the bottom. Right now, I don't have any tags in here. So what I'm going to do is import them. And when you import, you're importing a DB dump file. I've already exported the DB dump file, moved it to my desktop. Click open, click next. it reads all the tags in it and it puts them in the list. Now, you can import tags that don't have alarms on them. We will show them all to you in a list, and we also will tell you how many alarms are configured on them. So for an analog tag, you can have multiple different alarms on them. And for discrete tags, you typically only have one alarm. If you wanted to filter this list down to not include ones without alarms, you can check these boxes, and now you're only seeing the tags that have alarms configured. So let's say we do that and we select these three. We'll move them over to the right. So we're saying we want to import them. Next, we're going to get specific about which alarms we actually want to import. So InTouch has for for analog tags, whether they're level alarms, deviation alarms, or it's level, deviation. What is the other one? Can't think of it. Rate of change. Rate of change alarm. So those would all show up independently. So these are all level alarms. I want all these, so can select them all. And down here, you have to choose which policy you want to associate these tags with. I'm going to select the new one I just made. So I want to move these tags to InTouch notification policy and move them over to the right, and then import them in. And now they're in my grid, and I can come in here and change things about them. If I don't like the name that I've given it, then I could change it, or don't change the tag name piece because that's what actually ties it to the tag. You can only change this name. Let's say instead of React level, you want to type reactor level. You can change it here. If you want to give a different description, you can do that too. So you can type descriptions into these fields or assign labels to them. So that's how you import the tag. So if we save this, back to here, close this guy, go back to the runtime. This will start up. Alarms are already triggering. We'll go to, while that's starting, we'll go to the log viewer. Now, I didn't talk about the log viewer. This is the piece that comes in and shows you what alarms are in the system. And if you click on one, you can see the notifications that are going out. So we started this notification policy that we created. I never set up the gateway, so when I'm going to go try and send an email notification, it's going to give me a failure saying that, hey, there's no email connection set up, so you can't actually send the mail. You can see things like the state changes, how it's working through your call out list, and so on. So you can see all this information. You can also export this if you wanted to share it with somebody. If you go to the notifications tab, it shows you the notifications that are trying to be sent. So you're seeing the dispatching and failing, dispatch failed, dispatch fail. So you'll see all that in this list, and you can, like I said, you can export that out. So that's the log viewer. So these alarms are simulated, and they just keep coming and going, coming and going. And there's no changes have been made with the watchdog. The watchdog just watches for changing alarm state or tag value. And if it doesn't update, then you create an alarm. And then the heartbeat option, when you turn that on, you typing in a tag name that you're going to write 1 through 9 to. And if it stops updating, then you know WIN-911 stopped communicating with your application, and you can do something with that. We have a knowledge base article that talks about that and how you can write a script within InTouch or System Platform if you use System Platform. OPC DA is pretty much the same, so I don't think we'll go through that. And reporting is the same too. So if you want to create a report, this is just a list of tags and their values when you request them. So you can request them through all the notifiers, and it will just list out the values of those particular tags. So if you requested this one, it would just tell you the real-time value of those tags in the report. So that functionality has not changed. Here in the gateways, if you wanted to set that gateway up for email, you do it here. When you're setting up email, we do try to remind you that don't use a personal email account for this, because it will delete emails from it. So it should be something that's dedicated. So if I wanted to do this account I use all the time now, Gmail, turns off some setting all the time. So let's see if they've turned it off. You can do POP or IMAP. And
Yeah,
then
don't
if you
use
test
1 through 0 for password though.
1 through 0. Yeah, so it's my settings are good, so I can hit save. And then it would start sending out notifications. So instead of getting the failures, now I'm getting successes. And now I'm getting emails lighting up on my phone. I don't want to keep getting notifications because it'll just fill up my inbox. So I'm going to switch to standby mode. And when you're in standby mode, you don't receive notifications. So that's pretty much it for the demo. I wanted to show you actually the operator workspace real quick. That is this tool. So instead of having an operator go into the full configuration to change their call out list, they just open this tool real quick. And let's say for today, I want Arish to go first. I just move myself to the bottom. Now Arish is at the top. Or if I wanted to change my schedule from, let's say, if we'll do it a different way, let's say I change my schedule from sometime to never, and then I hit save. You can do that. Close it. Oh, I didn't change on the, say no, and we'll go over here, save, close it, and now it's gone. Oh, that's my log viewer. So if they wanted to come back and make another change, they just come back to it, and it's real quick to make these changes, so you don't have to go into the full thing.
And you
And
can
again,
embed a button inside of your HMI to bring that up, correct?
yeah, you could just put a button here if you wanted to launch it from the HMI, and then it's going to launch as this application on top of everything. So even if you have security locking out the screen, we've made the operator workspace so that it appears on top of everything else. So like, for example, I'm clicking on this InTouch screen and this is still on top of it. That's so that if you were using security and locking things out, it would still show up on your screen. All right, so that is the demo. Let me jump back into.
Excellent. While you jump back, I'm going to go ahead and launch the last poll question. What features would you like to see in an alarm notification mobile app? Team visibility, view reports, collaboration chat, act alarms, or see alarms? Thank you. We're about 30% in. About 55% in. People have voted. And we'll give it just about 5 more seconds. We're about 70% in. Excellent, thanks. By the way, if you find that you would like to see other features, feel free to just put them on the chat for us. We would love to hear a lot more about it. Rivis, we can see your presentation screen.
Yeah,
There
sorry.
we go.
It's the
We're all
default.
set.
Yeah, so just wanted to talk about what's supported for AVEVA products. For InTouch and System Platform, we're supporting 2017 Update 3, 2020 and 2020 R2. We may be looking at going back and supporting the last version of 2014. It is an mature support from AVEVA. So it's like one update away from dropping off that list, but I think we might go back and just support it. For AVEVA Edge and InTouch Web Studio, which are basically the same product, we're not supporting that until the next release of 2021, which again is at the end of Q3, beginning of Q4. And at that time, we will support those SCADA systems. For operating system support, we dropped off a lot of the old stuff. So we're starting at 2016 for server and going to 2019. For Windows 10, we're supporting 1809, which is that long-term service and channel release that will be supported by Microsoft for quite a while. 2004, 20H2, 21H1, which is the most recent one. And when Windows 11 comes out, of course, we'll support Windows 11. We're dropping support for the older operating systems because that is a lot less commonly used by our customers. Give me just a second. Okay. For upgrade, if you want to upgrade to the new WIN-911 and you have an existing WIN-911, you can do that. Just as long as you are in support with if you have a current support agreement, then you can upgrade for free. Now, existing licenses are not compatible with 2021, which means you need to specifically tell us you want to upgrade so we can generate a new license for you. So if you go to win911.com, go to support and license activation, you can go through that process. So if you just want to upgrade and don't have time to request right away, you can still just install and upgrade, and you'll have a 30-day trial. So you have that 30-day window to get your license in place. And remember, like I said, advanced is not supported. So advanced systems, if you try to run the installer on an advanced system, it will stop you and prevent the upgrade. This is what, if you go to the website, you'll see an option for that. So you'll click WIN-911 2021 upgrade request, and you'll fill out a form, and then we'll send you back the information that you need to activate your license. So we've made a change for activations too. So we've created a new online license portal. So once you get that license, you'll get an activation key, and when you get the activation key, you can activate online at any particular time that you want. So that looks like this on the website. So if you click the link that we give you, you'll go to the website. You'll be able, if you're online, you'll be able to just, if your WIN-911 system is internet facing, then you'll just be able to directly activate your license on that machine. And so all you have to do is click that activate selected licenses now, and then it will activate the license. If your machine does not have internet connectivity, then you have to go through the process of creating a license request file, going to a machine that has internet access, uploading it to here, and then it gives you a file that you take over to your WIN-911 system, and then you activate your license.